Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. How are you?
Very great.
Name
Name Valerie. Nice to
Nice to
meet
meet
you.
you.
Patrick. Nice to meet you.
Valerie. Alexa.
Good morning.
Alexa,
Luis.
nice to meet you.
Patrick. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Patrick. Valerie. Nice to meet
Good
you.
morning. Luis.
Reese.
Luis.
Luis.
Nice to meet you. Like you said.
Valerie.
I remember Oh, wow.
Luis. Nice to meet you.
We're good.
Okay. You guys start whenever you're ready.
All right. The Silk Road, the Industrial Revolution, and the Savannah Route. These are all key points in history where globalization has occurred. Now more than ever, we are at the pinnacle of global expansion. We have to hone in on our goals and our capabilities of global expansion and globalization. Lucky for us, that's exactly what we're doing. Dropbox, expanding Dropbox globally. Welcome everybody. My name is Naaman Pandadia. I'm here with my colleague Alexa Ruiz, Patrick Hovindi, and Luis Estrada, and we are the Montezuma team. So their mission statement is also our mission statement. To expand Dropbox's B2B sector with an enhanced business model and refined cybersecurity measures. But what does that mean? What questions do we have to ask ourselves in order to get to our goal? Our key questions are, how can Dropbox lead in cybersecurity and technologies? How to refine and advance Dropbox's business model? And how should Dropbox focus within their B2C or B2B analysis? So this not only means revamping our Dropbox plan, but also a focused B2B strategy that implements an increased market share and expanding in overall operations. Now I'll pass it over to Alexa Ruiz to go over our company analysis.
So within our analysis, we want to recognize who Dropbox is, and we recognize 3 important factors within Dropbox. First, we want to recognize that Dropbox's main issue is that it is a secure cloud-based file storage service where you can access your files and after you save them anywhere, anytime, on any device. Secondly, we do recognize that it generated its own independent hardware structure, Magic Pocket, between 2014 and 2016. This was an advantage for them as it led them to compete against leading competitors in the industry. And lastly, because of this implementation, we do recognize that their market share came out to 24%, which leads them to be the second highest within their competitors. We also recognize that their mission is to design a more enlightened way of working, and we want to prioritize that within our whole presentation. However, after our analysis, we do recognize that there are 3 main shortcomings we want to focus on. First, it's their industry positioning, their global presence, and lastly, their digital innovation. What we mean by this is that their positioning within their industry is competitive. Every day, it's updating because of updates within technology. Secondly, their global presence. Dropbox has a strong positioning within the United States. However, they only have a partial presence within Europe and minimal presence in Asia. And lastly, with our digital innovation shortcoming, we recognize that there are some outdated features within the app, and we want to work on this. However, we do recognize that there are many benefits and strengths within Dropbox. 3 of the most important ones we want to highlight are that Dropbox has a high user base, has availability throughout cross-platforms, and also has a very strong customer service. Within the high user base, their international user base is over 700 million individuals. And secondly, users are able to use a wide range of devices to access their Dropbox accounts, which is very beneficial as other competitors do not enable this. And lastly, we want to highlight that it is very important that their customer service is very important as it can enable them to gain a strong customer following. And now we'll be passing it to Patrick to cover the globalization aspects.
Nice. Thank you, Alexa. So, I want to start with the current business strategy that Dropbox uses. So Dropbox uses a freemium model to promote their huge cloud-based plan to businesses as well as personal clientele. So after the premium plans are done, they are presented with many plans that they can choose from. They have various plans. They also have very strategic alliances with companies that uses huge cloud storage systems such as Zoom, Facebook, and Canvas. They also have established 12 global offices or bases across the globe with their very own local servers. As Alexa said previously, we have very minimal presence in Asia. Therefore, we want to establish a very strong foothold in Asia, starting in Vietnam. More specifically, we want to start in Ho Chi Minh City, also known as Saigon City. Why? Why Saigon, you might ask? So Saigon is a very strategic place to start with because it is the most dense city in Vietnam, with housing over 8 million residents and counting. So Vietnam itself, the country, has their own cloud computing companies called Clay, but they offer very limited amount of services to their consumers. Typically, they target consumers that use a lot of photos or media, so therefore, a lot of their customers are photographers, individuals, but not businesses. They have very good relationships with their neighboring countries, so that means that they are very heavily trafficked, and it is shown that every year around 600 million people travel across Saigon itself. They have very good tax incentives for companies to come over to Vietnam. A lot of companies already have moved to Vietnam from China, including Nike. So with that said, they are open to US because we have very good relationships with Vietnam. So it is very easy for us to start having a foothold in Vietnam without having tedious regulations. So with that being said, I want to pass the floor to Luis, where he will talk about the implementations of our business strategy.
Thank you, Patrick, for those kind words, and thank you for introducing us to our globalization. So I want to talk about how are we going to be using that globalization. Using technology investments, we have decided to come up with an e-business strategy. We have implemented this in 3 phases. Our first phase is going to be artificial intelligence. Our second phase is going to be encryption services. And lastly, our last phase is going to be app implementation. Let's go ahead and get started. So our first phase, like I mentioned before, is going to be AI implementation. And we have decided and innovated and created a service called the Safe, Innovative, Reliable Assistant, also known as SIRA. So you may be asking, what is SIRA, right? So SIRA is a curated AI that will help you navigate the cloud. So how will that look like? So right here we have a local business owner asking SIRA, hey, would you mind passing me some financial information from last year? And almost instantly, in the blink of an eye, we have a financial statement here. And I repeat that one more time, instantly. So with that being said, not only will we be able to have access to files, you will also be given suggestions for smart storage on the cloud. You will also be given pre-made templates that will enable business to maximize efficiency. And also lastly, I want to mention this, and I want to be very, very precise on this. You will have an easy integration with business portals. And as we all know, tech companies are easily the most threatened when it comes to online hackers. So this is why we have implemented an encryption service. And actually we have implemented up to 3 of them. The first one is a circuit level gateway. Our second one is a Trojan horse packet filtering. And lastly, we have the intrusion denial of service program. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one. So as we know, hackers, they love to, they want to get little by little, they want to get in there, correct? So with constant traffic monitoring, we're going to have with advanced data pins, and we're going to ensure the utmost privacy for all of our users. Secondly, with the Trojan horse, which is the most common hacks here within the United States and also global, we're going to ensure we have constant testing for employees to protect them against these Trojan horse hacks. And lastly, we have the intrusion denial of service program. As Patrick mentioned, we do want to hit Vietnam. We want to hit the Asian markets. And with that, we're going to make sure that each and every market, not only in Asia, but also here in our home front, United States, have that added layer of protection amidst external factors. So how will this all tie into our app? So in Dropbox app, we're going to make sure that we added that created AI called SIRA, which again is a created AI to help us navigate the cloud, which will expand our B2B sector. And lastly, for extra added layer of protection, we have that advanced security, enabling a peace of mind for all of our business owners, and make sure that they are, their high value assets are all protected and secured. And of course, you may be asking, yeah, AI and encryption services, it has a lot of impact. So to go ahead with that, I'm going to have Neiman talk about the impacts and future resources that we may offer.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Luis, for that beautiful presentation. Alrighty, now in terms of our impact, we have our project timeline. So for our Vietnam expansion, we see year 1 and year 2 as our full market implementation. And we'd be more than happy to go over in our Vietnam expansion timeline during our Q&A session. So as for Sierra, year 1 is all about beta launching and product fix. We want to make sure that the product we make and the product we create is curated perfectly for businesses so that no kinks or no mess ups happen when we do promote it to the businesses. Year 2 is our small business expansion. So what does that mean? Small businesses, employees from 25 to 50, 25 to 100 employees, we curate them especially towards them because Sierra might be used differently for small businesses rather than in year 3, large business expansion. So when we go into year 3, our large business expansion, companies with 300 plus employees, it may work a little bit different for Sierra. And let's say small business like a small bakery, they have 300 to 400 customers monthly, and they have 300 to 400 receipts, different baked goods that they're buying. So let's say the owner wants to pool receipts for auditing purposes every end of the quarter. So Sierra will learn that, will recognize that, and consistently do that, and that's where our feedback, update, and sustaining Sierra comes into play. So once you use those receipts and continue at the end of every quarter, you pool those receipts, Sierra will learn that at the end of every quarter, you only want the receipts, you don't want the financial statements, you don't want the customer names, you only want that. So at the end of every quarter, it'll pool that data for you automatically so that the next day when you go to work, it's right there in front of you ready for auditing. And our encryption services. In year 1 and phasing into year 2 is our circuit level gateway. So we want to make sure we place specially pinpointed pins and firewall protection in our different companies. This also plays into year 5 and year 6 as our overall maintenance of services. So what does that mean? A small mom and pop shop isn't going to need as much circuit level pins as a large company that will be dealing with vital information such as social security numbers, government information, or even private healthcare information that doesn't want to be leaked out to the public. So they're going to have more pins and more firewall protection and authentication. And then our Trojan horse implementation is all the way from year 2 all the way to year 6. Because Trojan horse, as Luis mentioned, is the most commonly way for a hacker to get into your business. So we want Trojan horse implementation and quarterly tests. All employees will be tested quarterly to make sure they know what a Trojan horse incident is and they know how to avoid it and attack it on the spot or deliver it to IT so they can respond to it in a timely manner as well. Year 3 and year 4 is an intrusion denial service program, which is our intrusion server program. So we want to expand to Vietnam like Patrick was saying. So what does that mean? We know Vietnam is amidst to power outages. So if the power does go out, we want to make sure our servers are still safe and secure so that no external factors can threaten that. And as we mentioned, year 5 and year 6 are the overall maintenance of all of these services. We want to make sure that these products are in line with modern cybersecurity methods and that if any new cybersecurity threats come, we can mitigate those risks immediately. So what does this mean for our KPIs, our key performance indicators that Dropbox is doing success? Our 3 are updates, current, and curation. So updates are the innovation usage of cloud storage which promotes personalized software. So what does that mean? Just like Luis mentioned about Sierra and our cybersecurity, we want those curated to individual businesses. We want to make sure that it's not some cookie cutter thing that we use for every business, but it's personalized to your liking and it's personalized to the company so that Sierra is helpful to you, not just something that you add on because we have it. Our current, it's a secure files which prevents businesses to be breached. Just like Luis mentioned before, our security threshold levels. We want to make sure we have our cybersecurity implementation and to make sure that businesses have the safe of mind in dealing with all that storage and uploading that cloud software to our company. In curation, are formulating our trust and loyalty through our businesses to secure stable income. When we go to Vietnam, we want to secure ties and relations with businesses, and we want to make sure that they can trust us so that we can grow financially and they can grow financially as well. So in conclusion, we see that our formulating an approach on B2B by refining the overall business model and advancing technological operations. So we also want to go into the fact where we're expanding B2B. That's our sector. We want to hone in on our business-to-business sector and curate that by revamping a uniquely curated Dropbox plan and operating artificial intelligence and encryption need to assist clients in their daily needs. So our end goal is not only to expand B2B, but also expand globally. With our new sector in Vietnam, we expand that, which will have a focused B2B strategy, which increase market share and expands our overall operations. We thank you for your time, and now we open the floor to any questions.
Thank you. So, start the 10-minute Q&A.
Thank you. Very interesting suggestion on the AI. I think it's very timely too, because definitely this is something that is going to happen. It's not a question of will, it's a question of when. And with that in mind, I'm thinking 6 years for the implementation of the enhanced business model with the AI. How do you feel about that? Would that make you competitive with others who are also working currently, even Facebook, who's currently the partner of Dropbox, are working on AI very heavily, Google, of course. And why not partner with someone?
Yeah, great question. So the project timeline is very conservative. We want to make sure that we're not rushing anything, because we do know that external factors happen. And we want to make sure that our cloud software, Dropbox, is still the #1 program that we have to offer. And so with our encryption services, we see year 6 is when it's getting implemented, and Sierra is year 6 as well. And we do that because we want to make sure that our programs are perfect. And with year 6, if you see that it's updates and sustaining. So by year 3, everything will already be implemented. But by year 6, we want to continue updating everything and making sure that it's up to date with modern technology and modern competition. Making sure that we're top of the line and exceeding expectations for our consumers. Because we want to make sure once we release a product, our consumers don't come back complaining or wanting more. Because we want to offer them the best that we can within Dropbox. And you mentioned not doing a third party. We want everything in-house, especially with encryption services. In-house encryption services is known to be the most safest and reliable option. With Dropbox, we've been founded since 2008. We want to make sure that company longevity stays and continues. So in-house services like that will not only boost Dropbox to other consumers, but will also solidify and give peace of mind to businesses, knowing that all of our services are in-house and we're not distributing anything third party. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very, can you go back to that implementation chart?
Yeah. This one?
No, there you go. So Sierra is your acronym. That's going to be a public-facing product within the Dropbox offering?
Correct.
It's a little close to Siri, don't you think?
Just quite a little bit. However, with ours, we're not trying to compete with Siri. We're simply trying to make sure that our clients are able to, recognize and have a familiar face. And with that being said, that we wanted to have a curated
So
AI.
you want them to associate with Siri?
No. I want them to have a curated face to help them navigate the cloud. So not going into Siri, however, making sure that we have the implementations for Dropbox.
Yeah, and following up with that, Siri tells you the weather. Siri gives you directions to the closest Starbucks. Sierra does not do that. Sierra just pulls financial information or valuable information from the cloud server. So just like Luis mentioned, a financial statement. So let's say a company has titled Financial Statement December 2021. You message Sierra, hey Sierra, could you pull December 2021 financial statements? In a heartbeat, it pulls that financial statement, so you have it ready for auditing purposes or for any other
But
needs.
don't people use other forms of other software tools for things like financial statements? In your example, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of kinds of files you can call up, but for instance, in an instant, Intuit would probably cover a lot of small, medium-sized businesses with, I don't know, there's probably other larger enterprise platforms. That's not a typical thing that you would need, that companies would need, is it?
Yeah, so I totally get that. Sierra is not something a cloud software company would have, but we implemented it because companies, we want it to be added on to our level of cloud. So obviously you're going to be uploading all of our documents into our cloud, so Sierra works within our cloud, and it's curated towards the business. So we can implement that into their portals and programs as well, to make sure that Sierra is just an added hand, making sure that if you need any financial information, or if you need pre-made templates for financial statements or anything like that, we're there for you.
Which is a great segue to my next question, sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
Luis, you said that one of the key things was about its integration with business portals, right?
Correct.
Which portals are you thinking that
Yeah, of course.
are the critical ones, or the ones that would be most valuable to Dropbox users?
Of course. Global scale, please.
Oh, yes.
Alrighty, so which again, which portals that we wanted to communicate with.
Yeah.
So as we know, one of our huge consumers is actually going to be Adobe. So Adobe is, when it comes to their whole portal, is actually a culmination of a bunch of apps all into one. Of course, we have Photoshop, we have Adobe Express, we have, I believe it's called, my gosh, Photoshop, and we have Lightroom. There we go. So Lightroom. So within all of those into one, it's going to be easy to access files because, for example, let's say a content creator. With a content creator, let's say they use like Photoshop, and then they do right away quickly go to Express. With using the implementation with the portal, it's easy to access and navigate throughout the app. So through that portal, once we're in their portal, it'll be easier to access, in and out.
Yeah, and on top of what Luis is saying, we see portals like Salesforce or Lease Complete, companies by Ford Finance, Daimler, Crossroads Equipment Lease and Finance. These are companies with over 500 plus employees, and they use Salesforce on the daily, and they also use Lease Complete to pull out leasing information per client. So that's where Zero comes in. Zero is implemented into that system. Our unique coding would be able to implement that, and you could pull out Lease Complete data and implement that into our Salesforce category as well, if a company was to be using Salesforce, for example.
Follow-up question on that. You mentioned Sarah as part of the globalization strategy. How exactly do you position it as a globalization strategy? How will Sierra help you access international markets like Vietnam that you really nicely talked about? And why is Sarah important for that? Why can't they just go with what they have right now?
So our AI, pretty much we want it to be more personalized within the companies. So it's more of like you're not using a tool, or it's pretty much talking to a person. Almost feels like a person that you're talking to, and it's like instant response. And that's why we try to sell to companies a more personalized, integrated AI.
Does that mean that Sarah would have to speak different languages?
Yeah, it would have language.
Yeah, just like Patrick was saying, the different languages, Dropbox already offers different languages for the different consumers internationally, so it would just be on top of Zero, international language, so Vietnamese, Taiwanese, Chinese, depending on where the market is, it's curated towards that liking. And let's say Vietnam, for example, Nike, Samsung, those are top companies that go there, that are based in Vietnam. So we can curate that individually, like, okay, so let's see, if it's a tech-based company, we can offer them specific templates that they may be using for auditing purposes, for accounting purposes, what financials they may be pulling out. We can have those templates ready for them depending on the type of company it is.
What does it cost? I mean, AI is expensive, right? And companies like Google have been working on it for years. What does it cost to implement a system like that, especially if you're not partnering with somebody?
Yeah, so a machine learning engineer would cost us around $75,000, and this is for a US-based salary, all at USC. And our data scientist would be $95,000. So these two together, along with our data support team to support both, would be an annual investment of over $370,000. Again, we are being fairly conservative with the numbers, as this is the data that we were able to pull out from.
You could do an AI program with that small of a team?
Yeah, so the data support team would consist of 3 individuals. We looked at a small-based company, a pretty large-based company like Dropbox, and we saw that the average salary for a machine learning engineer was $75,000. So they'd be able to develop an AI system for Dropbox with that amount.
And time, how long does it take?
Yeah.
Sorry, what did I mean? 3 years. Huh.
So the product itself would be up and running in 1 year, the beta launch and product fix. But year 2 and beyond would be expanding it to the businesses. So we expect in 1 fiscal year to have the product by beta launch, and then year 2 would be expanding it to small businesses. But this is a pretty conservative timeline. We do plan on expanding it or decreasing it depending on different variabilities that we didn't have information.
Do you have time for one more question?
30 seconds.
Okay. In Vietnam, you mentioned US companies. Don't they bring their own software already, tools from the US that they integrate with their headquarters?
Yeah, so you're completely right. Obviously, Google has their own cloud-based service. We're actually targeting companies that are developing. Since Vietnam is a very developing country currently, we're targeting those companies that are going to be big in Vietnam. And then once we hone in Vietnam, we want to expand to other Asian countries.
What type of companies, if you just, could mention, at least an industry, what industry you would start?
Real estate.
Real estate.
For sure.
And why is that? Is that document heavy or?
Yeah, it's document heavy, and it's the fastest growing industry in Vietnam. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.